You've said something which elicits the next comment or question I have. There is this dilemma one finds himself in, and it's even mirrored in a saying we have in the social environment that let sleeping dogs lie. Yeah, because they're gonna wake up at their own time. Now, what I want to ask is, yeah, we have to do something in order not to just focus on ourselves or just sing the new and read the books and feel comfortable. We have to go out there and do something. But then what I want to ask is whether our activities are not just get towards finding those who have already awakened. We just find them. Or are we trying to wake people up? Because people will wake up at their own time. So what are we doing? Are we just finding the people who are already awakened? Or we're trying to wake up people? Because sleeping dogs will continue sleeping until their sleep is over. So I don't know whether you can expatiate on this.
Well, again, it's like the wind blowing, Charles. It blows how it does. Is there any specific way? So again, you're asking for specifics. And realistically, yeah, we play with that. But realistically, in the business world, specifics and a plan are created just like building a house. But when you're dealing with free will and the whole of life, there are no specifics and there are no plans. And again, this is what people have been railroaded with or dumbed down with, that their gods have a plan for them, or it's a specific way or whatever. Again, you see history and the missionaries and what has been created, and this has been a torture to the world because it's been forced upon them. Well, we're not forcing anything upon anybody, but what we're doing is we're just, again, we're presenting something to the world. And for those people that are active with the world, in other words, if there are sleeping dogs out there somewhere, which there are, many people are asleep, well, again, this won't get to them, but so we relate to the people that are active like ourselves. And maybe they will touch them or whatever. So, yeah, the governments of the world, the systems, all the systems that exist, religious, spiritual, whatever, scientific, these people are active. They're not sleeping dogs. So, yeah, we're not going around kicking people like they think. So it's really only the people that are paying attention to something that all of a sudden see what we're doing. And it's just like the corporation and what we've created, to present to them and to warn them, etc. So they think we're kicking them or attacking them. No, we're not. We're not touching them at all. We're simply presenting something, and they have an activity to where they're aware, they're seeing it. They're not really sleeping dogs, okay? They're not asleep. They're unaware of what we're doing, but they have their own awareness. They are awake in their own way, and so these are the people we're relating to. The people that are really asleep and numb, they're so self-centered on themselves that they don't want to see anything else. But these people out here that are in many of the systems and doing activities around the world and organizations, etc., these people are active. They're always looking to meet more people, engage, etc. Those are the people, that we're actively involved in, and they're not sleeping dogs. Okay, so we're not kicking anybody. We're just presenting. We're presenting the possibilities. We're presenting what is taking place. That's really what we're doing. And also providing warnings and substantial information so they can, they can wake up a little bit more. That's all. So the sleeping dog idea, I understand. I understand. And even the stuff we've done with Harry and Joni, I'll take the blame and credit for that. Whatever. Okay. They're not asleep. They're not asleep at all. They're very active. Okay. But they can play the role like, oh, gee, Duane is picking on us. You know, we're not bothering anybody. We respect everybody. Well, actually, they don't. You see, we do. Okay, by the very fact that we're warning others while they're taplining everybody else and giving them cancers and destroying them. They don't respect others. They only think they do, you see, and they're not sleeping dogs at all. They're very active and they're very clever. So it only makes sense to, do something. Yeah, it kind of bothers people a little bit. Oh, yeah, we bug people. You know, we get very real here. And I like people to be real. We listen to certain videos, etc. And Val, like the one he had presented, as an example, the fellow that's, specifically talking about the hurricanes and how they're from HARP and, all the control and the weather control. He's very specific. He's very upfront. And I like to hear it. Let's just get through it. So as we dilly-dally around with things, it doesn't get done. So it's not a matter that okay, we don't knock on people's doors, but basically we don't. But we do present this, and the sleeping dogs that a lot of times they play that role, but they're not really sleeping dogs. They just use their psychological position to try and make you feel guilty about what you're doing. But I don't. I have harmed no one. I've created a benefit. They've created the idea like lawyers in a courtroom. It's kind of funny when there's somebody that's done a so-called crime and there are witnesses to that crime. Well, the lawyers on the other end that are defending the criminal, they make the witnesses look worse than the man or person that did the crime. I mean, this is just their routine, you see? So that it makes their who they're defending actually look good. I mean, this is a psychological world of a lot of funny stuff. So, what you're saying there, yeah, it's you really got to look at it from all angles. And who really is the sleeping dogs? Can you pinpoint that? What is a sleeping dog according to you, Charles?
Well, the sleeping dogs are those who are still steeped in the social consciousness, who are maybe what you call very very literal in their approach to things, very dimensional. I don't think there is anything more to life. Very much concerned about their personal life until maybe there's an upheaval in their lives, and then there's a turnaround. There's some they have some wake-up dreams, some hard knocks. Then they start questioning about what this life is all about, or something like that. But until that time reaches, there's not much we can do to wake them up. So what I have come around to is the fact that we in the groups and in the other activities we do around, you've just hinted on that, we're actually contacting some people who have awakened to a certain degree. Yes. And the message will pass these sleeping dogs by. It will just be like some noise, some uncomfortable noise in their ears, and they want to distance themselves from it and continue with their comfortable sleep. But those people who have had some little awakening, they're in that twilight region between sleep and waking. In fact, will give them a boost, you see. And then there are those who are fully awake and they just need the connection. You see, they just need the connection. Once they're introduced to the new sound, or hear about Duane the Great Writer, and you send them a PDF book, they say, now I see. This is what I've been looking for. You see, so but at the same time, this information is presented to other people. You see, in fact, it's a general presentation we're doing, but only certain people will catch it. That's what I'm referring to. So I don't know whether my
Yes.
explanation, yeah.
No, it's very good because you prompt things and you prompt a better definition, and that is that okay, realistically, we use the words wake up and asleep and things like this. Realistically, these people are awake. They really are, because they are part of an activity. If there's an activity, in some way they are awake. They're really not asleep, even though we use these references. And the wake-up call, that's just an idea we use. But actually what it is, more defined, is that these people are unaware, okay, of the true reality life is. That becomes the difference. It's just simply they're unaware. It's just like, you get a box from UPS and you didn't order anything, and so you're not aware of what's in the box. Maybe somebody sent you something. Well, you got to see, right? And then once you open the box, it's like, oh, okay, this is from Aunt Helen. She sent me, a new pair of shorts, whatever. So, again, until then you were unaware, but you're still awake. You see. So becoming more aware makes sense until you recognize the true reality life is. That's really what it is. And the sleeping dog idea is really to where it's like, okay, we talk to these people over here and they're really not interested. They made their statements. So, you might say they want to stay asleep to what we're doing, so we don't bother them. That's all. That's kind of the reference of the sleeping dog idea. But actually, when you look at the world and the activity, no, people are awake. They are awake. It's just what they are aware of, you see? And so for most people, they are aware of creation, but they're not aware of everything. So they have a particular awareness. They are awake because they're part of an activity. They're not rocks. They're doing something. So we have all this activity going on. And just like the people that come on Facebook, why do they do that for the most part? The social media, simply because, you know what? They want to intermingle. They want to meet others. They want reactions like, dislike, whatever. They want to prove themselves, whatever it is. But these people are awake, but they're just simply not aware of what we're presenting the true reality life is. That becomes the difference, you see. It's really very simple. So, yes, when you bring these things up, Charles, we get into a better definition of what we're doing here, and we become more aware of what's possible for us. And that is that anything is possible once we decide it, but you must decide it, and you must do it, or it doesn't get done, and your life will pass. And so for some people, they want to, you might say, leave something behind. And so as I look at what has taken place in human history so far, yes, I would like something to be here, you might say, but that isn't really what I'm looking at. But as long as that I come and go like everyone else, that what I have created here makes sense. And this is so cool that, from Paul's time with what he started till now, the all natural environment and everything involved makes sense, more so than any teaching, wisdomonic words or whatever. It makes more sense than everything, especially when you can learn to recognize it, but that's the big step. So yes, this is the best of all times, and it can get better according to what we decide individually, collectively, again, as we support each other. And the real guides are an example of that. So, yes, Charles. So the world is awake. It's just unaware of what we're really presenting, you see? So they have no excuses except they can decide whatever they want. Excuses mean nothing. If they want to stay unaware, fine, go for it. But what we have to share is wonderful, and we're here. And it does bother people simply because, for the most part, they're attached to their old traditional ideas that they feel are very special to them. Well, that's fine. We're not bothering anybody. Again, as I've said, nothing is negated. You can have whatever you want. And so whatever it is, you can have it, and you can also decide to supersede everything. That's a choice that is made. And so, I like what I've recognized, and that is that to decide that whatever I do is for everyone. That's what I like. So go ahead, Charles. Thank you for asking. But yes, it's prompted a better definition of things. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, there's a this statement I came across today that made me to think and to try to make some connection with what is past and gone. Okay, we sing the new song, and we do other wonderful things to make us shine, and then we become like new kids. Yeah, the new kid. In my understanding, being a new kid is being established in the East and the real universes, and a new kid will conjure this image of a child, this childlike nature which is characterized by innocence, and this innocence which we lost. This is innocence and purity which we lost a long time ago, and the new song would give us the real connection again. Now, what I want to ask is this the same like when Jesus said that unless one becomes like a child, he cannot enter the kingdom of God?
Well, there's many ways of saying it, and that's one way. And for that time when he was here, Jesus, and said what he said, again, these are ideas, and for people to actually recognize and in some way fulfill that with themselves, that becomes the big challenge. But whether he said it or not, who knows? It sounds good. But yeah, that's the idea. In other words, what is the basic nature of children? You see it, and animals too. In other words, they're not striving for things. You might say they're not self-convinced, and they're really living the moment. They're just being now. But and they do that. Children do that. They're wonderful. But on the other hand, they don't recognize that. It's that recognition. It's very, very important because that's the all aliveness that life is. And until you do recognize that, oh, you can be now, whatever. But it's to recognize that. And yes, that is a reference to start with. You see, that is a reference to start with. In other words, just let go. Just be okay, you might say. That's just another way of saying it. And that's that childlike nature. Instead of being so conditioned and self-convinced, arrogant, and the know-it-alls and whatever. Again, as I've written many times, these are the people that are destroying the world. It's the know-it-alls. It's not the children. It's not the birds and the animals. Because, again, they're not interested in being the know-it-alls. But it's the so-called great brains, or whatever you want to call it, great minds, the know-it-alls, the educated. They're the ones destroying the world. Yeah, and we see that more so and more so and more so until you become aware that, I'm really part of this, I'm really doing this. It's like now I can decide to do something else. They come to that point where they can recognize, I can make better choices instead of just going along or going with the flow, you see, which eventually goes over the falls. All rivers usually lead to some waterfall. And so that becomes another life then. So, yes, it's always a challenge, and the childlike attitude is very good, but at the same time, that's just a start, Charles. Just like doing the new you, that's just a start. And just like having the real side experiences, that's just a start. What is behind that experience? That is what is to be recognized. That is the isness. What is the experience leading up to? If you just have experiences, and we have volumes of experiences all over the world, all these things are experiences, and what do people refer to? Old experiences. Is that alive? Is there an aliveness there? No. The aliveness that life is to be recognized. Then it becomes alive. Just like when people first started to recognize how to build a fire and keep themselves warm. You see, that fire became life to them. You see, that was like life-giving. And so again, everything is recognition, recognizing how it really already is. And yes, nothing is really lost, like you're saying. And, I'm not contradicting you. That's not the idea. Because that's the best thing of recognizing the isness. Nothing is lost, because as you learn to see this now, then everything you've gone through, even for millions of lifetimes, sums up to this moment where everything's okay. This is how instant it is. It's all okay. And you don't have to drag it at all, you see? And so, yes, kids play, they fall down, they get hurt, they come to their mommy, and then mommy hugs them and, kisses the boo-boo, whatever. And then after a few minutes, what does the kid want to do? He wants to go out and play again, and he just forgets all that, you see? And that's all we have to do, is just see things for what they are and cut the lines, forget the attachments to them, see? And then we're okay. Then we have that childlike state to where we're constantly exploring and becoming more aware. These, again, Charles, the confusion lies in the fact that, what is said as a reference is not the reality. So we use references here. We're constantly using references. And, some people, especially the literal industry that's been created, it's really an industry, okay, manufactured people that are literal and, mental, literal, intellectuals, etc. They try and figure it out. It's not like that. It's really not like that. That's a step, but it's not the reality. A reference cannot be the reality. So again, this is where people have agreed to a reference as a reality where, like, let's just play this game and say Jesus said, listen for the word. Well, we know that he was talking about the sound reality life is, the isness. But it's become to where they hold up the book and says this is the living word. See, again, they've turned it in the reference. They've turned the reference into an absolute which is just written words and an old reference. It's not that. And why have they done that? For control, you see, because they themselves, they're too afraid to take the risk to see more, so they've gotten caught up in controlling others, and so they're more afraid of everybody else, and so they imply fear. It all implies fear. Control implies fear, even though people, these are the do-gooders, and there are many people that want to do good, you see, and actually what they're really doing, just like Harry on stage, he's implying in his own way to do good, but what he's actually doing is controlling others, and he's creating infection. You see, the do good thing doesn't work. And what we're doing, it does work. It's very real, because it's this isness reality that expresses itself to where we become more aware. We don't become stick in the muds. So we do have references. You will continue to have references, but the references are never the reality. So to be like a child, that's a reference, not a reality. Yes, you must learn to recognize what that reference infers to. Young man, go ahead.
Wow, then it becomes very, would I say, very philosophical now. Yeah. What I get is that now the reference becomes something very literal, and one has to go beyond this literalism that you've been hammering on.